Hello, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Liberty, Mind, Body, and Soul with me and Lightbearer. And today's an important episode. We've had a lot of people that been affected, thinking 2021 was going to instantly start off and change the year. Obviously, resolutions are one thing, but to change to aspects of what's going on in life are not quite there. So we're going to go through a little bit of that. And there's some new information out that it might not all be you if you're having problems, especially if you've had the virus, because there's apparently some residual effects of the virus that actually can continue to affect you through the mental health. Yay! My med reminder's kicking in. Yay. Um, all right. So that said, you guys, yeah, how are you doing today, John?
Today's been a pretty good day. Friday's on the way, so can't be all bad. And we have the vlog later, so
Yep, we do. Yep, and
Thursday.
if anybody didn't catch it, check out Big G. Hayes was in chat here a little bit ago, but he had Squidly on the other day, and that yesterday. That was an awesome show. There's two people right there with big hearts in the community, care about what others think. Sorry about the list, but for some reason I have a really dry mouth today, and I can't figure out why. Probably from working outside the last few days, trying to clear all that snow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're bracing. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is supposed to be 18 and below here. So,
yay! Well, we just finally got over 30 freezing today for the first time in like a week. It's been running around zero and then dropping into the negatives for the past week, and then it's going to be still getting like near zero for the next few nights, but it's going to stay up in the 30s during the daytime for a few days, which is going to be nice. Yeah. So who do we got here so far? We don't have too many so far today, but we got Jake. Oh, go ahead. I'll let you do it.
We do. Well, yeah. Big G's in the house. Hey, G. You, me, Lady Liberty, Jake. Jake Scrap was in the house. Mowgli is in the house. Mowgli Vapes. Hey, how's it going? That's it so far. So we got a little people watching. Maybe they'll chime in here in a little bit.
All right, this
good
is
to
an
see
episode,
everybody. Thank you for joining us.
This is an episode you might want to hit a little bit on repeat too for the replay, because there's some information here that I didn't know about. I've been researching a little bit this week after I saw a little. It was actually Google notification for my phone, and then I was looking at it. It was like, that's interesting. And then once you get down the rabbit hole, just like anything, you just dive down that rabbit hole deeper and deeper.
Right.
Like I said, finding out that for one, the virus does cause like a fog. Excuse me. That seems to affect people even after it's gone. Lynn. Yeah, I'll get into that one first because that actually surprises me. Why COVID-19 causes brain fog, and this can happen for a while after. They don't even have a time limit on it. It's kind of like, they don't know, it could be a permanent thing. Probably not, but it could be. But it has to do with experiencing short-term memory loss, confusion, and inability to concentrate, just feeling differently than they did before contracting the infection. You add that to someone that has mental illness in the first place, has issues, that's going to really severely affect you in a major way, especially with the depression and anxiety kicking in on top of it. It's, again, creating another perfect storm to create, more suicidal tendencies and such. That's why you need to make sure you reach out to people, talk, and try not to hold yourself. And I've had this discussion with someone earlier today. Try to remember you're not comparing yourself to everyone else. For instance, today's day and age, there's a lot of still false innuendo that everybody's okay. They try to pretend like they are in front of you and you can't tell. So you're trying to compare yourself to someone who might not be completely 100% honest about it in the first place. They might be struggling more than they're showing. Secondly, accomplish, if you have these issues, any type of issue, deal with the accomplishments are decent for you. Don't focus on trying to be, all good all the time, because it's not you. And if you keep your goals within a reasonable amount, then you don't feel like you're failing all the time. Because you can get in that mindset where all of a sudden you feel like you're failing at being, decent or good to others, or if you feel like, well, basically going down that road of feeling worthless and suicidal, then you can stop that just by the fact that you need to reel yourself in and realize you need to focus on what your goals are for your individuality, and you know, celebrate the accomplishments of the day, even if they're small. It could be getting up in the morning, rather than getting up in the afternoon. Some people, I mean, I have that problem, but I get sore in the wintertime. Or, getting all your chores done, or doing the dishes. All these little things. Focus on trying to do those. Yeah, exactly. Russia's got a good one. Your only competition is who you were yesterday, and your goal is who do you want to be tomorrow. And
Mm-hmm.
that's on a good day. You don't always have to do as good as yesterday. Maybe today is a worse day for you. Just try to be more positive for your own life. And make sure you don't isolate, because that's where people get in the most trouble, is when they need it. And try to make sure when you have more than one outlet, more than one person to go to in case someone's busy dealing with stuff. Because I know sometimes I've been more busy lately. I'm getting ready to do some true advocacy with the state and everything, and I'm trying to prepare. I'm doing a lot of researching and stuff to get ready for these phone conference hearings coming up. We don't have a number yet for it. It might be a renew of last year's numbers. It might change the number, but we got another flavor ban coming for the state. And
Mm.
it's the only good thing is Big Tobacco's involved because it includes them, so that helps us. We have a little lobbying on our side and some money behind us, but still it's happening. So I've been focusing on that because obviously I have a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak. But yeah, those are two very important things I want to bring up. Um, you have anything to add to that before we start getting into some of these stats I was interested in?
Yeah, I think I think misery is found in comparison with others. Um, the who we are as human beings is so complex. It's an amalgamation of our past experiences, what our kind of what our personality makeup is, any mental health things that we might be struggling with. So misery is found in comparison when you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? It's a never win war, with yourself, and it can keep you just feeling miserable. You have to kind of, as you kind of already brought up, celebrate those little victories during the day, or even the week, and set goals. And it's okay if you don't hit those goals, but at least it gives you something to strive for. So yeah, there's never any happiness found in comparing yourself with others.
No, not unless you're winning, which, like, if you're in a competition, but life isn't a competition. And then right now is the time when you need to not focus on it as a competition. Try to
Mm-hmm.
focus on it as just being better for you, maybe your family
Yeah.
around you. That's all we should focus on right now. If unless you're doing really well, if you are, there are some people that are thriving right now. There's a few. I mean, there's a lot more rare than it is to go the other route, but that thriving does make a huge difference. And I know, like I was saying, with Squidly being on the other day, that was, to me, that was one of those moments where it kind of just focus on them too. Those moments where you just, you see people that have big hearts, and you're watching them and listening to them, and it just kind of warms your heart too. Focus on that. Try to remember that and rethink it, like I'm doing right now, rethinking watching the show. Then I still kind of can feel a little bit of warmth out of what was shown yesterday on his show, because I remember enough of it. And focus on those and try to let those memories flood your brain more than the negativity. Uh, Obviously, with everything going on, like we've talked about before, the pandemic and stuff, that in general messes with people's minds. But
Mm-hmm.
like you and I think we're talking about the other day, like regular colds and stuff are down. Think about that. Wearing the mask and stuff. Maybe even if you don't believe in it, there are people that are still there. But the thing is, it's actually causing less illness out there. I mean, it's not going to give you that whole like herd um, immunity, but it still will
Mm-hmm.
bring you into a better space for spreading it. I mean, think of
Right.
how fast the common
Right.
cold, when it starts coming around, how quickly it floods through the whole community. And we don't see
Yeah.
that as much as you.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing: you don't have to believe in the virus. The virus believes in you. So
There's a positive. The virus believes in you. Yeah. But we've
I mean,
seen it. We have seen it, though, with the people that we know in the community. We've seen afterwards dealing with that whole fog effect.
mhm.
So when I read
Yeah.
that article, it's like, that makes a lot of sense. And they're still struggling with it a little bit. It's kicking in and out and kind of almost like a fluctuation thing.
Hmm.
They're having bouts, but it feels like that. And then you see them kind of get depressed about it because they're trying hard to get out of that funk.
Yeah.
Just let it happen naturally.
Well,
Obviously
and
try, but let it happen.
any virus that you're battling, I remember when swine flu was such a huge thing, and we had avian flu. Those things, in any virus, when you battle them like that, it takes such a huge toll on your system. So it's not surprising that this is acting in the same way, trying to get you out of that. Just you're just battling 24/7. Your body is putting up its natural defenses to try to get you out of this. And so it's such an exhausting process anyways. It's not surprising this has some residual effects.
Yep. And we got some of the studies back from 2020 as part of this other article. And mental health and substance abuse challenges look different for each person affected. But right now, that's a big point. We all know that, what is it? You want to feel better. What makes some people feel better? Trying different things and stuff, trying to do anything they can, especially if they feel like they're just lost. So that's where we come into anybody that's actually working toward a positive right now. Trying to lower or get out of that and going through like recovery. You got to kind of give them a little bit of a hats off no matter what and give them a little extra leeway because right now to be able to go through and recover during all this, that takes a lot of strength, inner strength,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it. And that's a personal accomplishment that they can definitely focus on, anyone who's dealing with that. Even if you're just trying to do a little less of something. Even if it's something you're not going to get rid of, because, I mean, there's medical stuff as well that maybe you don't want to get rid of, but maybe you want to, like, back it off a little bit so it's not taking control of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Here, okay, we're going to get into a couple of these statistics because I did find them interesting myself when I was digging. In late June of 2020, adults reported struggling with mental health or substance use. 40% of U.S. adults. 40% of the people that put in their statistics. That's a lot. That's like
Mm-hmm.
almost half of all the people that filled that out were struggling with one or the other. I mean, that's way higher than usual. I believe somewhere around, I could be wrong here, but I think it was in the 20s. 20% struggled like previous to this whole pandemic. 1 in 6 U.S. youth 6 to 17 experience mental health disorder each year. Think about that. The kids this year, I mean, that might take a whole generation to truly get out of that. Remember, if you have kids, keep an eye on them because you can't say this isn't going to affect them. This is going to affect the whole generation all the way through until they have kids. And hopefully they don't pass it on because that can happen as well. Depending on how you deal with it and how you work and try to let things go and relax, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and not internalize all the anxiety and depression, will make a difference to the children as well that you're around. It doesn't have to be your children. It can be in public, just being in front of children. That can all affect them.
Yeah.
And then it talks about how much it costs the nation for depression. Average delay of onset illness symptoms is 11 years. So if you're starting to feel it, it can be 11 years before it fully kicks in, before you fully deal with that. Granted, it could be exacerbated. I can't think of the word.
Exacerbated.
Exacerbated. That's
Exacerbated.
it. Exacerbated. I can't do it with my tongue lisp right now because my mouth's dry. But yes, it'll definitely speed up the process right now with everything going on. And suicide is the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 34 in the U.S. and the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. Now, you think about that. That's the second leading cause. This doesn't have the stats for this last year, 2020. I have a feeling it might
Hmm.
actually be moving up there close to first. And that's the part that this whole channel and the reason we're doing this is to try and keep people from getting to
Hmm.
that low. That's what the Discord's for. Granted, I have noticed the Discord's been a little bit more lax lately because I know a lot of people are dealing with trying to get their lives back on track, and it's causing them to be a little bit
Hmm.
more busy.
Yeah,
But
you know, I'm all about positivity, but you also have to look at it in a realistic phase too. With this much time gone by, where people are, out of work, been laid off, having to socially isolate, especially our friends over there in the UK, um, we're looking at moving forward here. We're certainly looking at people losing homes, home prices going plummeting because there's no market for it. We've got a few things ahead of ourselves. I've been watching that we're not out of the woods yet. Certainly that you can try to keep an optimistic outlook for 2021, but there are some realistic things on the rise here that we're going to have to go through before we get to the end of this. So,
yeah, the Great Depression lasted for years. I expect this to be the same because we're just starting to get to the depression, as in like monetary depression.
mm-hmm.
It's not even really kicked in fully yet. It takes a few years for us to really feel the effects. You think it's going to get better? It's going to get worse before it gets better. And on top of that, we got like you just said, the financial strain is really tough for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people.
Mm-hmm.
And you got many people suffering from more than one mental disorder at a time. In particular, depressive illnesses to occur with substance abuse and anxiety disorders. These are the ones. These are the top three. Typically speaking, these are the ones that are the trifecta of most disorders, and they usually become a part of other disorders because you either have anxiety or depression because of something else you got going on. So this is extremely common to suffer with it. And right now with depression, you might not even have really a disorder. It might actually be depression because of the way things are going in your life or around you or just the world in general.
Mm-hmm.
More than 75% of youth juvenile systems have been diagnosed as mental illness.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, one of the most strange things I think about this whole isolation, the whole, having to deal with everything, I think is that those episodes of depression. I just had one last week. This hits you out of the blue, but you just can't put your finger on it, and that's the worst. If you can kind of think about, hey, I didn't. This didn't go the way I thought it was. This didn't turn out like I thought it would. It's much easier to deal with than those things that hit you out of the blue, and you can't get a logic down on it. Um, for those who don't know, I deal with pretty, not constant, but some severe depressive episodes, and I had one, and I was, that's probably the most horrible thing is try to decode, going through that and trying to figure all that out and not having an answer. It's
yeah,
a
sometimes
frustrating
it's just a
process.
feeling and you don't have a true
Yeah,
answer to what's going on.
yeah.
Here's a big one that actually, acceptance. That's not what it says in the notes, but acceptance of people that aren't of exactly what you are, or dealing with what you are, or dealing with the same way you are. Like this is talking about transgendered adults are 12 times more likely to attempt suicide than general population. What helps that in a great deal more than anything is accepting, being accepting the
Hmm.
of other people and maybe them being different and not having the same mindset as you. It's not an easy thing because with trying to get advocacy going, trying to get groups to work together, I found it very difficult to get any even tethers. And then the pandemic came, that just screwed everything up. But
Hmm.
any tethers together because there's always some people that just don't agree with something that's the other person's doing. The point is, it's like with fighting for liberties, fight for all personal choice. You know, if it's not your choice, that's okay, but it's their choice. Just let them have it because that's what they want to do. I don't know. That's just the way I feel about things. I think it should always be a personal choice because once you take personal choice out of it, then it becomes a totalitarianism state of mind, and that's just who wants to live like that.
Right.
And most common mental illnesses in the U.S. are anxiety disorders, which affect 40 million adults, 18.1% of the population
Hmm.
in the U.S. That's like regular. That's not talking about anxiety with the pandemic. This is like pre-pandemic numbers. 18% of the U.S., 40 million adults deal with anxiety.
Yeah.
And then you kick in anxiety typically does blend a lot with depression, so I'm sure that's close behind. And that's just, that's where I just want everybody to be okay. And these are important things to bring up because not everybody's realizing this, and I'm seeing this happen. I watch the chats, I always keep an eye on everybody as best I can, and I do see that there are some people that aren't realizing that it's even happening, that they're falling into these categories more and more. This acceptance thing has happened a lot where, people are so stuck in their own world trying to keep their world together that they become less accepting of other people that are similar but dealing with it a different way, which would be one of those personal choice things. We don't always agree with everyone else's way, but that's just the way, they deal with it. So we
So
just
I,
do
I
the
would
best we can. Go ahead.
I would say, I would say there's two things happening at the moment, for those who are quarantined, but also uh, part of the vape community, which is you are. Uh, I'm sorry, I'm having some brain fog. You are um, being cut off from your family relations and people that you go see because you want to keep them safe, right? And you want to keep yourself and your family safe, so you quarantine as much as you can. You're going to have to go out and get things. And then the second thing is that I'll try to make an analogy here, right? So if a burglar breaks in your house, you have and you're trying to defend your family, you have a target, right? But if you think that there's people out there that are going to get into your house and you can't see them, you don't have a target. And so you're always on. And I think that they've been on for years and years and years now. And this weight of these latest regulations that are coming down, they are depressed about losing the family. What where we go from here, I think, is a lot of the thought process, and it's just exhaustive uh, to try to battle both those at the same time.
And Lynn, to answer your question, my opinion, the pandemic's not been on the rise for a while. It's just the way it's fizzling out and moving. It's going to go in waves. They set it up that way on purpose. They said that way back in the beginning that they were going to allow it out in waves because they figure 90% of the population is going to be in contact with this at some point. And they're just trying to make it so it's controllable so they have enough, medical staff to deal with it. If
Mm-hmm.
it just went worldwide and they didn't do anything, yeah, we'd wind up with a herd immunity situation, but we'd lose a lot of people because we don't have the medical staff, and the medical staff could be the ones sick. So I don't think the pandemic's so much on a rise. It's just still here. And it's going to be here for a while to come. I would be very surprised if we don't. We're going to have some residual in 2022. It's not going to be over. We're not going to see the end of this year.
So here's an analogy, maybe to sorry, too much carbonated drinks. Here's an analogy maybe that we can work with this is that when a flood comes into an area, it doesn't just all go away overnight. It takes a little while to go, and I think that's where we are. We're not at the end of this by any means, and we're just kind of dealing with the after effects of what 2020 brought us. When here we are, until people start to listen, until people wear a mask, until people take the proper precautions. I see it every day here. Um, people are people are starting to get laxed again, and that's what's going to cause things to go up on the rise if we're not careful.
Well, kind of what Linda said, rise again because of massively overhear people open up again because our government's. You know what? It's but the thing is, if the government acts completely like took over in a military state, people would fight and still want to spreading it. Maybe even worse. Yet it's a tough spot to be in for them as
Mm-hmm.
well. It really
Mm-hmm.
is because you can't. You want to control it, but at the same time, you can't really control it. And then you have people like you said that are just fed up and snap. so to speak, and just whatever. If I deal with it, if I die, I die. This is a theory, and that's where you get into the problems where they can actually cause issues for other people that are trying to be
Mm-hmm.
safe.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it gets a little hairy. And then you got to, on top of that, you have kids that might have been born either just before or during when the beginning of this that haven't even seen normal life yet. They are starting to possibly even learn to speak for the first time in the middle of this. Might be going to school for the first time and is thinking this is school situation's normal. Like I said, the whole generation is going to be affected, and I don't see this going away anytime soon. So instead of fighting it, we got to learn to cope with it and try to figure out how to make it work for you, but in the least long term effective way, especially when it comes to dealing with. I hate to say it, the children actually seem to be a big factor for me lately. I'm worried about them as they're coming up, because if your father and mother are, or your family members are dealing with stress, anxiety, and depression because of this, it's going to trickle into the children. And then in the end, they wind up dealing with it. It is good that they're coming up with the, can get the shots now and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know exactly 100% what's going to happen with that. There's people stating they got sick off it. They might not have gotten sick off that. Might not. It's hard to tell, but it is an availability for those people that have it. I know that a few people in chat here, a couple of them wanted to get the shots. So, and see, this is all things that it should be a personal choice, especially with something that's so new. We all know that typically the first version of something isn't always the best. Yet in this case, you kind of want that first version to work. So it's.
Well, so I think, the only thing that's directly comparable to what we're dealing with now would have been the Spanish influenza. I think it was 1926, 1916. Not sure exactly.
And they opened back up again too early and they spread it again.
Yeah. So, but they didn't have the medical technology or some of the things that we have now. I mean, millions of people, and they just like kind of shrugged their shoulders. They were like, not much we can do. It's got the Spanish flu, it's fatal, and so that's the crazy thing, is that we've got to celebrate the medical technology we have now, which hopefully is going to bring this thing under control. But like I said, we have a long road yet, and we just need to do what we can do, right? So, which is everything that everybody already knows, right? And yep. So I just think that's, we're not in any way out of the woods yet, and it is tough to deal with on a day-to-day basis. It's weird when you go out and you feel odd because you haven't been out in so long,
I spent 2 weeks in quarantine. I know exactly what that feels like.
It's very strange.
And then I got out there and it's like, wow, I want my quarantine back. These people suck. I'm sorry. It really was that bad. I also went out at the beginning of the month was when it all happened. And the beginning of the month, you get everybody out and all the shoppers, the monthly shoppers. It's just insane. Mm-hmm. And the drivers, I swear they've been taking months off and forgot how to drive and then decide to hop back on the roads. It's like, it's not fun. But yeah, and I'll be honest, I was trying to avoid this episode for a while because I didn't want to add to this situation, make people more concerned. But at the same time, it's gone long enough that I kind of had to give in, because the people that are dealing with it and the stress is getting to you, try to focus on the things you can control. Mm-hmm. This is becoming more and more important, and, family members and such. And like Big G said, falling ill out of a vaccination is not unheard of. There are people that might be sensitive to a vaccination, and besides that, they might be sensitive to the exact vaccination. It might not have anything to do with the illness. There could be, illnesses and deaths surrounding the vaccination that have to do with the way it's made that someone's sensitive to. Like, take it like a peanut allergy situation. Something doesn't fit their body chemistry. So we can't always say it's everything. So yeah.
You just reminded me of those commercials for like, don't take Loresta if you're allergic to it. Well, how the hell would I know if I'm allergic to it if I don't take it?
I'm not the only one that yells at the TV when they say that. When they say don't take it if you're allergic to it, well, how do I know if I'm allergic to it if I don't take it? Yeah, I hate those commercials. Or, Side effects may include death. Well, isn't that like the end game? I mean, if it includes death, that
Right.
includes everything then.
Side effects include death, falling hands off, lose loss of limbs, diarrhea. It's like, wow, boy, you're just covering every base
So
there.
talk to your doctor and make sure you get on board.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
thank you.
sure, I'll be right there. Yeah,
But
so
it all goes back to what I was just saying is that, I think it is that we have medical ability now, to tackle some of these things. And yeah, the first vaccine out may not be the best one, but it's some kind of progress against it. And so we have to hope that there's some kind of thing found there that can slowly get us moving in the right direction.
Lynn actually just mentioned that she had her first vaccine, felt terrible the day after. That's common, a day or two. The first shot, the second shot tends to have a little bit longer effect on that ill feeling. But so far, so good. I mean, as far as the people we know that I know and have talked to about it, other than just feeling kind of like crap for a few days, it hasn't been anything bad. I'm not saying, like I said, it could be instances that something else was a factor. Could be your chemistry makeup of your body or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Again, I still say personal choice because there are risk factors with everything. We don't know long term, like Matt was talking about one time a while back about we don't know if it has something to do. It might not even be you who get affected. Maybe your children could get affected, your unborn children. You never know. There's all kinds of possibilities. So this is going to be one of those things that we can't focus on what everybody else is doing. Do what's best for you. And that's the best you can do. And that's kind of the way you should look at the world right now and try to do what's best for you. If that means standing back and taking a little time to yourself, do it. If you want to start a new venture, maybe attempt something new, do it. Just do whatever makes you feel good. Big G's back to doing his lives again. He's doing his caricatures again. This is the type of thing. If you can bring out your creativity during all this, it's a good time to start reading some books if you haven't done it in a while. If you like to read, it's a good time to catch up on some movies or anime or whatever you're into. And that's just it. You keep yourself busy. Idle hands, idle brain. Same idea. You sit at home and just let this absorb you. It will absorb you. It's going to create anxiety and depression, even if it's unfounded, even if it's not there, because your brain can't help but dive down it. Like me diving down in this rabbit hole, reading about all the different things. There's a lot more, but I don't want to give you guys exactly what I went through when I started diving down, because I kind of, how you had that rabbit hole last week where you got into YouTube. I had that rabbit hole this week, but by the time I was done, I was like, I was feeling kind of depressed just at what I read. It's not, most of the information you find out isn't exactly good information right now. It's typically kind of depressing. So I would recommend not doing that unless you really feel like you need to. Don't dive down that rabbit hole. Just accept the fact that you do whatever's best for you, whatever you feels best. And
Right.
that's just, Jake and his the work he does. As long as his wife doesn't wind up one of these days like doing something to him, like he said something about getting pulled out in the woods or something and left in the car.
Well, it's because Jake ordered a lot of flavorings, I think, and so he was scared.
Yeah, I've heard that same thing when he was talking about making a desk out of resin. I heard something about something that he's a little worried about his wife getting him permission to do.
Well,
That second, third mortgage to buy flavorings right now is a real temptation. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I can't afford more flavorings because I found it more important to buy the one thing that we definitely won't be able to get easily. So that's on its way, and that, I've made sure I got enough for a couple years' supply, so I'm good. Just in case. Yeah. Then, yeah, try not to on a Thursday show go deep down into the industry, but that there's so much going on there. You can't help it if you're a part of the industry to not feel it. It's like with any rights or liberties that are being taken away from you or are affected. During this pandemic, there's so many that have people didn't see. What am I getting
Any
yelled
liberty?
at for?
I don't know.
I'm getting yelled at. I don't know why. Okay.
That's definitely all caps yell.
Yeah, I know. It's like, uh-oh. But with everything going on, just do the best you can for yourself. don't focus on what everybody else is. Don't try to look it up and
I mean,
say, "Hey, I'm not doing well because I'm not doing what this person's doing." They're not you.
yeah. I mean, there's all sort of riddles out there to solve right now, like the Charmin bears. How is there underwear on the floor in the bathroom when those bears don't wear any pants?
Jake, my wife's a redhead, natural danger sign growing from her head. Just because you said that, if she hears that, you're probably in trouble. Just saying. That's it. We're gonna have to do a danger segment just for Jake. No, and if you guys didn't catch it in the beginning, I started the previews thing. I wanted to make it feel kind of like when you're sitting in the movie theater waiting. So for now, until we get something better, I'm going to do it like that. And the doldrums are in there, winter doldrums. That is all the proceeds from that are going to suicide prevention awareness and suicide prevention. So that's only $5 for a ticket, even if you don't really care for the music. Although I'll be honest, I wasn't sure until I actually heard Emily Drinker on Stan Tenacious TX channel. I'll be honest, I didn't know if I'd like it that much or not, but that was really good. So I'm actually really looking forward to it. But that's February 28th. It's going to be an all-day thing. It's not limited to just the Philadelphia area like it usually is. This is going to be worldwide, available. Anyone who has puts $5 in at least. You can donate more if you feel like it. It's for a good cause. So that is the only ad that's truly an ad there, and the suicide prevention number is there for anyone who is struggling and needs it. Just look back at the beginning of the video. That's important. I just want to. That's the end game right here, is to try and keep as many people from needing that number, and if they do need that number, having the availability of it.
Right.
Yeah. $111 for flavoring is a lot for me. You know, Jake, I got yelled at too last month. That's probably what the caps was, because I bought flavorings as well. Yeah. Let's just say I started off the month with last month with 2 flavorings, one a giveaway, which was nice, and then doubled that by getting, well, tripled it technically because they're 30 mils instead of 10s with the VSO. So yeah, that was fun. And the dog is like hardcore snoring over here. If anybody can hear it, if you're hearing that snoring sound, the dog he can't help it. He's staring at me and just keeps on passing out. So I don't know. It's not just me. See, this whole fog thing happens with the animals as well.
Right.
But they don't know what's going on either. And if you notice your animals are acting a little bit different, there's a reason for it. And if you're, I mean, Lethal, you did say we could talk about it. So one of his pets, his dog is going to probably have to put down here soon. So he's struggling with that. And that's tough, because when you know your pet's going, I know that Jenny has dealt with that recently too with the rats. It's not easy because they become a part of your family in one way, shape, or form. Sometimes they're your best family because they are only there for comfort. So it's tough. And, it's okay to feel that and accept that. And maybe you might not feel like doing much during that time. Don't worry about it. Just do the best you can for you. And if someone else has a problem with it, then just walk away. Take a little time. Take a breather. Take a few deep breaths. Take, if you have it in you, read a book, play a game, something, anything. Go for a little jog or a walk.
Mm-hmm.
Anything like that.
All good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, the cat's snoring too? I don't know. They're all, yeah, lazy animals. I think we're making them worse by being stuck in a house for 2 weeks. They got really spoiled. They did act out a little bit yesterday too when I finally got out and went. And speaking of, how has everybody been doing as far as getting out? Have you guys been getting some of the stuff you've been doing, wanting to do? Duchess just showed up. I wanted an update on how he's doing on building his coils and stuff, because I know for him that's kind of therapeutic as well when he gets going on it. There's anything like that. Big G, you got any new projects going on with your with some of your caricatures and drawings and stuff? Any new events coming up? Let us know in chat, because I'd like to explore some of the positives that are going on in people's lives, even if it's something they're just thinking about doing. You don't have to actually be actively doing it yet. Just keeping your mind rolling helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Irish, how are you doing on building your dungeon? You making any bigger? You doing expansions? I mean, just curiosity. We have your little guys over there inside a little plastic container. You know, the little bubbles. So one of these days, I'll have to get his address and mail them to him. That'd be funny.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah, it's not going to be easy during this time, but it's something we need to accept. I mean,
hmm
like I said, I was trying to avoid the show because I didn't want to spread anything. But at the same time, it's gone on so long, we don't have a choice. We need to learn to accept it, which means accepting talking about it, because
exactly.
it's like the same thing with like people that are feeling suicidal. Been there before. You don't want to talk about it. So the worst thing you can do is not talk about it because then you think, well, I got this. I don't want anybody else to worry. And the next thing you know, you get to that point where you don't care about what you're thinking. You're just done. And
hmm
that's when you really needed the other person to be talking to you and they're not there because you never reached out. And at that point, you don't want to reach out. So it's,
Right.
and this is becoming that same situation where people don't want to talk about it. We're trying to avoid it. Just try to talk about the positive parts of it, the things you can control, the things you can do. Are you being safe while you're out there? Are you doing the things you can do to try and protect yourself? Are you trying to go at different times of day to when you do have to go shopping, you know, to try and avoid the rushes or at least have the people that are more rule following? There's certain times of day when you do, like your early mornings, typically you do better around here. And
hmm
then later in the day, then the early afternoon, that's the time when, or closing time for work, like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 6. Those are bad times to go if you don't want, you want to avoid those people.
That's true. That is true. Whoever thought that finding the right time to go to the grocery store would be like a sport. You show up. Is it crowded now? No. Okay, this might be a good time.
Do you do what
You
I do?
know, it's
Like I got to go to go to get wood pellets most of the time, so I'll head by anyway. But I'll look at the grocery store on the way by. I'm like, nope, not today. Or hey, there's room. It looks fairly empty. Go in there, and you'd be surprised though how often you'll go in there. And this is where this is a. I mean, I don't like to do peeves. I truly don't. But I have to be honest. It's amazing how some of the older people, and maybe they're just fed up with the fact that they've been dealing with this. Some of the older people act like they deserve everything and will take up spaces, put their cart across the aisle, block literally the entire store for you so no one can get by and do any shopping in a timely fashion. It's like, I don't know about anyone else. I want to get in. I want to get out. I know John's the same way. In, out, done.
I
You
am the
can't
same
do
way.
that if someone blocks you. I
I am
hate
the
that.
same way.
Or
Yeah.
the aisles are all labeled the right direction, and you'll be all the way to the end, almost ready to go out of the aisle, just grabbing your like sugar or whatever it is, throwing it in your cart, and you're about to head out, and then someone pulls in the wrong end of the aisle right in front of you. It's like, just move out of the way for 10 seconds, and you wind up having to turn around and go backwards through the aisle because they won't move, even though you're only like 3-4 feet from the end of the aisle.
Yeah.
And it's almost always an elderly person,
It
and
can be.
I don't know why. And and at the same time, you feel bad for them, but then it is also that part where it's like, okay, some of them just have attitude, and I've just had to get that out. That's like a yesterday was like this. That's why it's coming out. But on the positive, they're there. They're doing. They're wearing their masks. They're doing their thing. They're still out. They're still around. So let's try to focus on the positives. It's hard. It's really
Yeah.
hard when you deal with that, and I know that most everybody here has dealt with that at some point. Tobro, you know,
Yeah. You know,
yeah,
I
Duchess. If I could, I would. I live too far from town. If I tried to pay for delivery for groceries, it would cost me an arm and a leg. I mean that. I mean, honestly, it's gotten to the point where I don't like grocery shopping so bad that if there were a way, I probably wouldn't do it. What I find funny is here. May I ask anybody else if they think this is strange? Anybody seen that commercial? I think it's on Netflix or Hulu, one or the other, where the guy, where they order their, through the shopping app, have it delivered to the house, and then he starts eating the apple. Anybody else think about the fact he's eating the apple with the bags walking in? They're trying to avoid getting sick by not going out. Can you guarantee that apple is
nah,
sanitized? considering it just
No,
came out of
bro.
a bag.
I seen it in person. The guy literally grabbed an apple and still had his glove on and was eating it. And I was like, yeah, that's purpose to feed us, man.
Yeah.
He had the rubber gloves and was eating. I was like, God dang it, man.
Why bother with the rubber gloves?
It's just, hey, Tobro, good to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is just, you know, we're trying to make sane sense out of an insane situation, and that's the problem, right?
Um, yeah, Irish. I do that in the summertime. I grow my own vegetables in the summertime as long as I can, and I do plan on expanding that every year. I do a little bit more. I started a strawberry patch last year. I'm going to try. I already have some black raspberries. I bought some blueberry bushes, but they didn't make it because we had that really hot stint this summer, and it burned them off.
Mm-hmm.
Even though no matter how much I watered them, it was just so
Yeah.
hot. But I'm going to do that. I'm going to try and get some fruit trees going. I do try to maintain as much as I can at home, and I try that anyways because I like it because it gives that sense of accomplishment. But now
Mm-hmm.
more than ever, if I can grow it at home and not have to go out to the store, I'll do it. And yeah, we have like 12 acres of land, so city drainage ditch as a kid, yeah, should be immune to everything. Yeah, that's the other thing, the immunity thing. There's always questions about it. But the fact is remains whether or not this strain has existed before and maybe might have been around. Although it does seem kind of strange, it's hitting more public areas and going very fast, hitting people that don't normally get sick or getting hit sick hard. There's some factors that kind of play into the fact that there's more realism to some of the things coming out. But do the best you can to stay not get sick. I mean, obviously at this point, it's a thing to do. It's go to the bank with a mask on. A year ago, you get arrested. Now you go to the bank without one on, you'll get arrested. So, well, you tell me. What's it's just insane, topsy turvy, bizarro world. And then we have our
It's
children growing up in this time, and those are the ones that are going to be. I'm more concerned about them because we'll figure this out. We'll get through this.
Mhm.
But the kids are going to be left with this scar, not knowing what's going on. But as they grow up, it's going to be feel weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I think kids are more resilient than you kind of maybe give them credit for. They come out of things kind of those early more memories will pass in time. But I think that it is something to be wary of that you don't press your stressors off onto them. Um, Try to make it as normal as possible for them. At online school, they're obviously not going to
Yeah.
anybody's house or visiting or anything like that. So it is a interesting time to be sure.
The biggest thing I would like to see people express to their children and show them is you still personal choice and not letting the government take complete control of your life because I could see them growing up thinking it's okay because now they have to. Well, if something comes up in the future, they might just go with it because they got used to it. And that's the thing that's that fine line you got to toe. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of got to follow the rules. But at what point are the rules overboard? And this is a hard time to make that defining line because it's
Sure.
really so much going on, so hard to tell. And it's something you kind of have to make a choice on your own. Yeah, we did have jalapenos growing this summer, Tobro. We had some off the bushes. I only grew one
You
jalapeno bush. It was supposed to be two, but the other one didn't grow.
you can't get jalapenos to grow in British weather. You just stop that right now. That's for the southern states and over here.
You could inside. You can get them
It'd
grow
be
inside.
you
Get
can.
yourself an
It's
get yourself an arrow garden. They actually work really well for that kind of thing. You can grow jalapenos in an arrow garden. So there, problem solved.
you you, you, you just concentrate on your fish and chips, and we'll handle the jalapenos from this side.
Fish and chips.
Just kidding.
Yeah, well, Irish, they've already had issues with that happening, I guess. They caught some of them already. But actually, I think it was conversation we had with the Misfits that were talking about it, where it's already happened over there. That's That's it. I mean, we used to have you wanted the anonymity of not having a mask on was considered dangerous. Now it's commonplace. How do you? That's a huge shift in social structure.
So, so I think I'm laughing because I just thought about it. I experienced that today. So, you know, take precautions, but don't take idiotic precautions. I walked into a place to grab some lunch today for us, and there was this whole open counter, and then right in front of the cash register there was like this 5x2 little divider that went up. There's all this space over here, right? where you haven't taken any precaution. The idea that you think that this little divider is really good, it's like a sneeze guard for people. They used to have them on salad bars. It's like a sneeze guard for people now.
Although
That's
to be
what.
honest with you, a sneeze guard makes sense. Sometimes a cough or a sneeze,
Yeah,
it would protect to some degree.
to
But if
some
you actually
degree.
ever seen any of those videos where they show a sneeze or a cough, it will go around.
Yeah,
It really will.
my point
Your
exactly.
best
Yeah,
chance
exactly.
is that they have a mask on, and that'll actually contain it some. And that's the whole
Yeah,
purpose of the mask is containing.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just struck me as funny. It wasn't like the larger one. Sometimes you see it some of the checkouts. So it was just funny.
Jake, you got to post a picture of one of your masks. I didn't realize they had Green Lantern mask. That actually makes perfect sense. If you guys have ever checked out any of his work, he does a lot of Green Lantern based stuff.
Yeah,
Speaking of, found out the Green Lantern is available on I think Hulu or Prime, one or the other. And I was thinking about watching it just for the fun because that's actually one of Ryan Reynolds' least favorite movies he was in.
mm. Oh, and not sponsored. This show is not sponsored anyway. But if anybody's looking for some unusual masks, head on over to Wish. Since we're going to be in this for a little while, great examples of. And it doesn't matter if it's going to take 30 or 60 days to get to you. I mean,
I'm not kidding. Yesterday stopped in Dollar Tree on the way home, pick up a couple things, and old lady had a mask on, said "F God," read out, but "F God" on it. It's like, really? And this was like someone that looked like she'd be like a Karen. You wouldn't expect that from someone like that, but she
she
did.
she's probably of Irish's ilk, a little older. She's got a secret dungeon in her house or something. So.
Yeah, it kind of gives it away when they have that going on, doesn't it? Yep. There you go. Is that how you figure it out? If someone has that, and it's kind of like if anyone's ever watched Disjointed F Babies. Yeah, yeah. You know how to pick them out by just looking at these kinds of signs. Yep.
But
All right. Well, have you checked into your Now that's something important, Irish. Have you been checking in to make sure you're still under regulations? You have to. I mean, everything has like a capacity. Does your dungeon have a new capacity versus pre-pandemic? I'm just curious. And if you had to make an expansion to, change that up, these are important things we need to know. Yep.
on the plus side, he'll have to hose down that stainless steel line dungeon far less if there's a capacity on it.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's a good part.
Well, that depends on how. Never mind. We won't go into
No.
that.
Oh, but yeah, I mean, here we are. So, kind of wrapping this up. I mean, I think it's important for it to realize that although 2020 is passed us by now and we're in 2021, we're not going to hop on out of this thing. That's not how this is going to happen. It's like going into a weight program. It took you. Mr. B over in the UK is losing weight for and
Yep.
for donations for cancer
Yep.
research. And it's like going into that. That you're going to have some weight reduction, but you're not going to lose all of it. It took you 30 years or however much to get in the situation you're in. So, slowly you're going to come out of that slowly. You're going to start to and that's what we need to realize about the current situation we're in is that it's going to be a slow process, and so it's going to take some of that patience if whatever we have left and then try to, just kind of anchor yourself the best way you can, and remember to rely on others. That's what the community is here for. I put the link in chat a couple of times. Stop by the discords. There's always somebody around. We try our best to get that covered between ourselves and the misfits on both those discords. Um, that's what we're here for. We're here to talk if you need somebody to talk to, and please don't rely just solely on yourself, because that can I want to say elongate, but that's not the word. But it can make things last longer. That just like shaking a soda bottle up, you got to let that pressure out.
It's a really
So
good place too if you're waiting to see a specialist, especially now. Hard to get in to see one right now. It's a
it
good
is.
place to kind of have someone there, and it might even be able to come up with some of the answers to make it streamlined, so you'll understand what's going on with you before you get to the specialist. Just because of others that might be dealing with similar situations.
Yeah.
As far as the Dungeon Wars thing going behind between Jake and Vaping Irish here, apparently Jake's is ISO certified. I have a feeling that Jake, with all the resin and stuff he does, it might actually be a pretty fancy dungeon, though. I think Irish's would be more straight up, hey, this works. But
Thank you,
just my thought.
Futhless. Prolong. That's the word I was looking for.
Prolong,
Thank you
yep.
very much.
Yep.
Yeah. So
And we were talking about a segment before because of this whole Bin Laden, as someone said in chat. If it gets much longer, apparently, Lightbearer says I have to do a chat of asking these 3 questions. You may not cross my bridge. So
it's going to have to do the Monty Python troll questions. Yes. So
yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. If you can laugh a little with everybody and at yourself a little, that's a good thing, especially with what you're dealing with.
fucking Irish.
Been laid off. Yeah. Actually, that's a damn good thing. America's public enemy number 1 is now called a guy called Been Laid Off. Yep. That's good, Irish. That was one of the best things I've seen in a while.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
But yeah, like we always say, take a little ease with yourself. Please take a little ease with others, although they can exacerbate situations. You got to remember that you're not the only one out there. Everybody's just trying to do their best, get home to their families, be safe, just like you're doing. So, we're going to make it out of this, but it's not going to be anything fast.
Nope.
And that's just the real truth. And although we wish it would, we become a society of people that want things right now. When you're tapping your foot, waiting for water to boil at the microwave, come on, man, you used to have to put it on the stove. That's just the thing, as we become impatient with everything. We want it right now. Well, it's not going to happen right now. And that's the most positive outlook I can put on that. We're going to have to work through this thing.
Yeah, tapping your foot to wait for the microwave. Has anyone ever done that, like into the microwave, the stove, and then realized because they were so impatient, forgot to turn it on? That's kind of what happens right now. Is happening with this. Everybody's so impatient, they're forgetting major steps and being able to even get there. Yeah. And then you got, reach out to people and stuff because it matters right now with depression and anxiety. But to top that off, don't take everything so seriously and down to heart. And make sure you don't self-isolate. These are extremely important things that are not as easy. When you're feeling depressed, self-isolation feels right. It is not. Yeah. It is by far the worst thing you can do. It is the hardest thing to not do at the same time. So you got to fight your own instincts when it comes to that. And it's not easy. It takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that said, we'll get out of here and let everybody go about their day. I know Grim Green's going to be on soon. I'll be tuning in over there in a little bit, and then that's what she said. It's not on anymore. I don't know. I still feel like, does anybody else miss that, like a show or something they used to watch constantly, and now it's not there, and just it's tough. I don't like change like that so much. So why can't microwave minutes be like minutes you get from your snooze button and alarm? Because they do. If you forget to put the button, it works just like a snooze button. You don't get it to cook. What was it? I was waiting for something to cook the other day, and I was just waiting. And it was the Instapot. I waited 45 minutes. 45 minutes for this roast to cook. I was waiting. I went in and realized I never turned it on.
Nice.
That actually happened within the last week. I turned it on. I was like really excited and hungry. And I'll go out there to check out it, and it's like, I forgot to turn it on. It was a good half an hour I waited before I checked it. It's like, duh. So,
So, yeah, to sum it up, everybody, we love you guys. You're not alone. We're get through this together. You know, stop by Discord if you'd like. We'd love to have you. We welcome everybody. You don't have to necessarily have to be in the vape community to join that Discord.
yeah, Jake
It's
just
for
asked
everybody
for
that
the
needs
link.
help. So, I got it right here.
You got it? All right.
So, we'll get through this together. Don't everybody's going to be here and we want to help. So,
You know what I
stop by.
realized? I don't think your chat's working.
You don't think my chat's working?
I haven't seen any of your posts. Oh, no, there it is. It's there. Never mind. It's just delayed. There's a delay. Yeah. Just stay in good health. Talk. No, we're here. Reach out to us. If you're dealing with a severe crisis and you happen to have my number, or at least have a way of calling me on like a messenger or something, call me. Don't just like send me a message in Discord, because sometimes I don't see that, because there's a lot of Discord messages that pop up saying this is specifically someone who was in chat at some point tonight that should have called me. Yes, please do. That would be important if it's really an important situation. That said, I will be on with Squidly tomorrow on a Friday Vape Club. So that'll be something new. I mean, get to hang out with him. I mean, and it's really cool that, Big G had him on too, because it's like, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And Big G's been on here. See, it's a circle. Circle of life.
The circle of life. No, okay, go ahead.
Oh, keep going. It's okay. We're about to get our first copyright strike.
That's why I meant short.
Singing, because if I'm doing the singing, we won't get a copyright strike. It's like, that was horrible. We're gonna give you a strike, but it's not for copyright.
All right, everybody. We love everybody.
Right. Love you guys. You guys take care of each other. Keep reaching out to one another, and I'll see you next week, if not sooner. Love you all.